We have Jackie, who has gone through so many ups and downs and has gotten into development.
When I got pregnant, she said, you need to take care of you and your baby, and you need to do that outside of my house. Scared money don't make money. You have to move. My first deal I did make 6 figures on.
She's got such a great story for you guys. So Jackie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Vince.
I'm excited for today's episode. There's going to be so much for us to dive into. And you have a lot of different angles to your story that we haven't necessarily had yet. So it's going to be really fun to dive into some of that. And for starters, you grew up in a first-generation immigrant household here in the U.S. So what was that like from your experience? And how do you think it kind of shaped and affected how you think about money and how you think about real estate?
Well, I think money has been a big part of it. Aside from being first gen, my mom was also a single mom. So all I learned and witnessed growing up was hard work equals like stability, not even wealth, just being able to survive and put food on the table. I learned that we had to really budget and we had to be very conservative to be able to have a little, maybe a little trip or a little outing on the weekend. And real estate wasn't honestly even a conversation that was even held or something to even seek as a thing. It was mostly like survival, like what we have to do to survive, make sure you go to school and be successful so that you can be better than me.
And did you always live in the same area, or did you guys move around different states, different cities, or did you always stay in the same place?
I grew up in New York. And so I was born in New York, grew up in New York, and then towards like middle school, I started acting out. I started skipping school. I started hanging out with the wrong people. So my mom decided for us to move to Atlanta, the suburbs, apparently, where there were trees and not tall buildings, for me and my sister to have a better life. But it was mostly because I started acting out and doing things I was supposed to.
For so many people, their real estate story and their journey seems to start in college or after. And your life really started with some really huge moments earlier than that. And you got pregnant at 15 and your mom kicked you out of the house. How on earth did you deal with such monumental challenges at such an early age?
Yeah, it was really tough. I mean, sorry, this little headphone keeps coming out. Their dad was a little bit older, so when I got pregnant, she said, you know what, those are your life decisions. You need to take care of you and your baby, and you need to do that outside of my house because I still have to take care of us. And so I went to go live with their dad, who was a little bit older, and I guess I had that safety in that sense where I wasn't homeless. And she knew that, which is why she also said, you do adult things, go have an adult life. And I went to go live with him, which wasn't the best thing for me. But in the moment, that's just what I had. So that's what I went to go do.
There are so many multi-generational immigrant families that I've seen. So I am surprised that your mom took such a hardline approach to that, especially that she had gone through, being a single mom and knows what that is like. I don't know her, but that's a really challenging thing to put your child through at such an early age. I don't know if you guys ever reconciled or what that relationship looks like today.
We're still working on it. I think we were used to just kind of sweeping things under the rug, and it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of what we had to do. Yeah, it was my bad decision. Yeah, like, well, I got pregnant, so I have to deal with my consequences. But now that I'm older, actually right at this stage of life, I'm actually really processing what that all did to my nervous system and who I became as a person. I mean, it served me well. It built this incredible drive for me to achieve and do anything, but it all comes from pain and from abandonment and never wanting to be let down or depend on anyone. So we're actually actively working on that. It's me learning to forgive her and understanding that she did the best she could with what she had. She also left her home at 16 to come to this country by herself with no one. So I think she also acted from those wounds and like, well, this is going to be good for you. You're going to have to learn to survive and like you'll be okay. So I think she did the best she could with what she knew. She never had anyone either.
Do you feel like you've had a chip on your shoulder? Do you feel like you had something to prove?
All the time. It was to prove and also to survive. I think there was an internal decision that I made when I separated from their dad because he was extremely abusive. And I remember the moment where I said I would never, ever, ever allow anyone to treat me in such a way. And I'm going to make sure that I have my shit together so that no one ever, I never have to rely on anyone. I never have to depend on anyone. Like I have me and my kids. And so there was a monumental decision to never, ever allow anyone to treat me that way again.
It's really great that you had enough self-respect and self-love to recognize that and leave that situation, because I've seen all too many people who lack that self-respect for themselves. And no matter what your circumstances are like, if you lack self-respect and you don't love yourself and you don't think that you deserve better, people will stay in those situations for years or even decades and let it take away all of their precious time, all of their years. And you deserve a lot of credit for not even necessarily having a supportive enough background to have that, but you somehow found it in yourself to have that, and it served you well, and it clearly made you just so capable, because the things that you went on to do are so fantastic, especially given that it's like you know, instead of starting at step one, you were almost kind of at like a negative step one. Like you had to make up ground for that. And you did. And there's so many people that had so much more comfortable circumstances that still don't feel comfortable taking on the risk to do half of the things that you've done. So it's almost kind of like, you know, you were just willing to do anything that it takes, and you believed in yourself and realized that you were a very, very capable person. And I'm excited to get into some of the things that you started to do, because I believe that you ended up going back to school and you became a cardiovascular nurse.
So I got married with my now amazing husband. He was like my shining armor. He wanted to take care of me, and he said, you don't have to work, stay home with the kids, get to know your children, because I worked 2 jobs. I was in college I was surviving when he met me. And of course, even when someone gives you safety, you don't know what that feels like. It's extremely uncomfortable. So I decided, I was like, nope, I'm going back to school. Now that I don't have to work, I'm going to go back to school. So I actually started at a medical ICU during COVID. So like the theme of my life is we do hard things coming out of the womb. I graduated as a new nurse in 2020, and it was during the pandemic. So I went straight into a medical ICU where all we did was pretty much try to save the people we could, and then everyone else was dying around me.
That's unbelievable.
So just, the theme.
Oh my God, the stories and the things that you faced and the timing of some of these things are just unbelievable. My sister actually recently graduated with her degree in perfusion. Nice. And most of you listening are like, what the heck is that? I also had no idea what it was until she applied to schools for it. But would you like to explain what that is, since I can explain it, but your version would be better.
So I'm in the cardiovascular ICU now, which is open heart surgery. So the perfusionists are the people in the OR that are basically the heart and lungs during the surgery. This patient is put on 100% bypass for the surgeons to be able to work on those organs. So your sister is keeping this patient alive, making sure that lung and heart machine is working, and then it's almost like the body is put on like a pause. It's pretty dead, like if you look at it in the terms. The surgeon does what he needs to do, fix the things, and then she reperfuses the body, brings all the blood back into the body, and making sure this person is still neuro intact, still limbs all working. Like it's a big deal. So that's awesome. I love that for her.
I do too, except when she tries to, put pictures in the family group chat and it's all the tubes, and I'm like, I don't want to see any of that. I'll have to introduce you to her sometime. That's really funny. But you started listening to real estate podcasts. What made you interested in real estate? Because you had just gotten into nursing, and you developed this interest in real estate. Did you start to see a path of, going from this actively earned income to something that maybe had even more of a ceiling, more performance-based, where you could kind of control your own destiny, especially with the amount of self-belief that you started to develop?
Yes and no. It was that, like, now that I had making my own money, but honestly, it was also, my husband was the main provider for, my money was just for me and my spending habits. And then some of his businesses started not to do well. And he started to tell me, like, hey, we need to find something that is going to give us the cash flow that our businesses were doing. I was like, I don't know anything about that. Like, I just went to school. Like, leave me alone. But then, like, I kind of saw him struggling, and I was like, well, maybe I do need to, like, step in and maybe help him a little bit. And so I was like, well, people talk about this real estate thing. So I'm going to kind of learn. I'm a definitely, like, when I want something, I will educate myself as much as I can. And I started listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast every single day at like 5 a.m. before and to work. And I was like, wait, these are like regular people. They're not like millionaires like I thought people in real estate were. I was like, these are like regular people with families, and like, if they can do that, I could definitely do this shit. Like, I got this.
Real estate is a team sport. You can grow so much faster if you're in the right room. The Launch REI Mastermind is a curated space for investors who want to move from hands-on execution to professional portfolio management. This is your personal board of directors. Inside, our conversations go beyond the tactics. We cover the decisions that actually change outcomes, structure, tax strategy, and capital allocation. If you want to build alongside a vetted peer network designed for the long term, apply for the Launch REI Mastermind at the link in the show notes. And so you were starting with essentially no money. And what strategy did you come across that you eventually decided that you were going to dip your toes into?
So because of the income, like, it wasn't our income, like my husband's businesses were not doing, we were actually losing a lot of money. We started with the arbitrage strategy in Airbnb, because it was like, oh, you don't need to buy a property. You just need to get a house for rent and Airbnb that. And I think I paid like a little course. It was like $1,000, and I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, this is doable. So that's what we started with, because we were focused on like cash flow. We wanted to kind of go back to our cushy lives and get something to get us back there.
I would really like to dive into that a little bit before we move forward, to understand what that process was like, because strategies come and go in terms of being trendy and people wanting to try different things that they hear about the most. And it seems like every year it's a new thing. And Airbnb arbitrage was that thing, especially in 2021. How did things work out for you? And what kind of challenges did you face that you weren't expecting?
I mean, it was pretty cool. It was terrifying, because I learned how to get like business credit. They taught you in this course. I learned about like leveraging your personal credit, which is something I never did either. I was very conservative, and putting myself out there, setting up an LLC, all of the things. And then we chose Orlando because my daughter at that time was an all-star cheerleader. So we traveled to Orlando every year. And I was like, oh, it'd be nice to actually go to a place that was like kind of ours. And we got a landlord to say yes. We positioned it the way that this little mentorship told me to, and set it up. Terrifying to spend so much on furniture, understand what all it entails to like run cleaning people, like the app. It was essentially another job. But I learned a lot about like market and things, but it was okay. It was interesting.
How much were you having to spend on furniture to furnish the house, and what was the spread between the rent and what you were generating in income for it to work, because if it doesn't work and you're wrong on the numbers or the vacancy starts to slip, you could be underwater on it, but you're still on the hook for the payment. You still have all that furniture. It could get really dicey, especially if you have 3, 4, 5 of these. I think there's a lot of people that lost a lot of money as soon as the market turns or vacancy drops. You could be in serious trouble.
I think we broke even at the end of the year. So we did it for a year. I put on a credit card, I think it was like almost $30,000 in furniture, because it was a 7-bedroom, 5-bath house with a pool.
Oh my God.
And I tried to be as conservative as possible. Some of it I did on Facebook Markets, a lot of like TJ Maxx, but I had to actually furnish all of this. And that's including like the pictures we had to do, just everything. And we went up there and set it up ourselves, just me and my husband and a little baby, in about 4 days. Like we slept for an hour for 4 days and just set it up all by ourselves. He built every single piece of furniture in that place. So
for nothing. I hate to say that. Is that bad? But is that true?
We learned a lot.
Or did it lead to other things that...
Yeah, so I was pretty much paying that, because there was 0 interest credit cards, so that was pretty good. I was paying the furniture and my credit cards out of like my salary is what I was doing. Then we were cash flowing. So it's Orlando, right? I didn't realize how like the ROI isn't the best, because everybody and their mother has an Airbnb down there. So the rates were not matching how much our rent and our water bill, like electricity and everything, is so much more expensive in Florida. I didn't realize that. And then we had to pay our cleaning lady. But on like the Thanksgiving and 4th of July, I mean, we made like pretty good money, but then it evened out the months that were just like a regular, whatever. But yeah, we actually broke even, because at the end of it, I don't know, this was just like a manifestation from God or something. Somebody came and asked me if they could just buy it from me. They would they wanted to take over the lease and just continue to buy it for me. Yeah, I think I put it somewhere like, hey, I'm going to get rid of this Airbnb if anybody wants to continue the lease. Like, it's just too much work for me. I have an active job. And they essentially paid what I paid in the furniture almost, and just took over the lease.
That is literally just a miracle landing in your lap. I've never heard of that in my entire life. That is one thing that I've never heard of. Someone buying your Airbnb arbitrage with the lease and the furniture.
I spoke with the owner, and she did not want me to leave. She was so proud to have her home like the way that it was positioned, and it was so beautiful and always so taken care of, because that was our business was based on. And I positioned it for her this way, like, hey, this person's going to take over the lease. They're going to continue to do whatever they do. And she was happy to do it. And I was like, well, I want this much. And it was just essentially like my furniture price. I'm like, you don't have to pay for the setup. I'll give you the professional pictures. I'll give you everything. And he was like, fine. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And that just happened.
And then you started to move out of that model towards new construction, which is far more capital intensive, way more than furniture. You got to build the whole house, and it's more risky, and you don't get paid until that house is done. So you had to learn how to manage contractors, how to analyze the deal, how to find the deal, fund it, probably with someone else's capital, create some kind of partnership. Let's start to dive into that. How did you start to even think that you wanted to get into construction and do development? Because that's a dream for a lot of people, but it's also pretty risky on the scale of real estate
I'm telling you, when I look back, and I always tell this story, people are like, I was in flow. I was just in this surrender process of my life where I was like, I'm doing hard things. Like, my confidence was so up, and I actually just saw an ad on Instagram, and it was these 2 guys, which are now my amazing mentors. And they were like, learn how to build new construction and make 6 figures. And I'm like, I want to make 6 figures. And
I would think it's a scam. I wouldn't have clicked on it.
I just messaged them, and I, like I said, I deep dive. I did like a background research on them, and I just see like what if they were scammers based on what at your capacity, right? So I messaged them. I was like, hey, I'm just a girl. I've never done a flip. I don't know anything about construction. Like, is this something I can do? Or am I even like qualified to sign up for this class? And they were like, absolutely. It's 100% fine. Like, you can do it. I was like, oh, okay. Well, if they said I can definitely do it. So I just went to the class. It was me and my husband. And I was sitting there in that class and I'm like, I'm completely over my head. What the fuck is all this? I don't understand any construction vocab. Like, there was a huge doubt, but then also I'm a very like studious person. You know, I was at the front, I was asking all the questions and, you know, almost like, again, having to prove that I'm capable and worthy of sitting in that room with all the men. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going to figure this out. And he was like, you know, for whoever decides they want to do it, you can partner with us on your first deal for a fee, or you can do it on your own and pay with mistakes, time, whatever you want to do. But I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And they were so amazing. And so like, they never ever made me feel like, oh, you're just a woman. Like, and so I think that also made me feel safe and like, they're saying I can do this. Like, maybe I am capable. I can do this.
The power of even just one person believing in you when you're doing something new and something big can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Because I was like, well, if the millionaires say I can do it, then maybe they're right.
That's so awesome. I love that. That's really, really inspiring. And your first couple of deals that you did, what did those look like? How were you finding them? How were the numbers turning out? I think that didn't you move into one of your properties that was projected to do a six-figure profit?
No, I never moved into one.
Okay, I might have read that wrong. Was it your first deal, or was it one of your first couple deals that you thought that you were going to make six figures on, or how were the numbers kind of looking?
No, my first deal I did make six figures on. Yeah.
You made six figures on your first new construction deal. So, and that's exactly what the ad said.
It did. Yeah, it was true. No, yeah, you can. It was very true. I mean, and the market has shifted a little bit since that time, but I got my first land deal through like a wholesaler, networking through like, I think it was, I almost want to say it was a wholesaler through like going to your event. I almost want to say that that's right. He bought me this land to like my desk and was like, hey, and I'm already terrified too. I'm like, is this even true? Like, who are you? Like, are you trying to scam me? But I also did my research and like learned about title companies through podcasts and listening and like all of that. But then that's when I also realized I had 30 days to raise money I didn't have in my pocket. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So how did you go about trying to find the capital for this
I don't know if you know Amy Missouri. Have you heard of her? She's like big on social media, and she's a woman, and I used to watch her all the time. Like, you know, learn how to raise money for your deals. The thing that has you capped in your business is your ability to raise money, right? Somebody has already worked for it.
Interesting.
Why not raise them and leverage that and position them where you win and they win? I used to watch her all the time, and her mentorship, like, I even set up a meeting once and I never showed up because I was terrified. And then when this land opportunity came, I was like, we have two options here. We're going to let this shit go. And good thing he gave me 30 days because he was a brand new wholesaler too. So he was super like generous with his like.
Wow. So you had a new wholesaler and a new developer who didn't know what they were doing. And this ended up turning into a six-figure profit on your first development deal.
It sounds nice, Vince, but I'm going to tell you, I was terrified. Like, I used to cry out. Like, I'm way over my head. I'm terrified. Like, my whole body was in resistance, but I was like.
Each tier was worth $1,000.
Yeah, I did it. And I put her membership on a credit card. It was like, I think $8,000 at the time. And I was like, I'm going to get this shit back. Like, I'm going to do it. And within a week, with the little things that she taught, and not the little things, they're big things, and how to position it and how to raise money from the right people, I got my first $50,000. My lot was $40,000, and I had $10,000 to get like the plans and the architect and my site plan and everything. So
you were willing to bite off just massive risk. You put furniture on a credit card. You put this course on a credit card, and
I will say, but that's what the podcast people tell you. They're like, you have like, I like scared money don't make money is what I used to hear. I'm like, okay, all of these people that are making massive amounts of money, they say you have to move. Like, you just have to trust it. And that's all I really focused on. I'm like, I want to be like them. And this is what they're saying. And I'm just going to do it. And just go. And I did it.
I can't even believe it. It's just really, wow. It's just one thing after another. The things you experienced are wild. And I feel like every way we turn, there's just some new unbelievable thing that happened on this roller coaster. It really is the only way that you could describe it. So how many development deals have you done so far?
We've done one, just one new construction. Okay. I made them. I'm not going to say it's a mistake. It was a learning opportunity. We did a couple of flips with additions. So essentially almost like a new construction with a flip. And our very last one, which is why I kind of stepped back, we lost a lot of money on that. It was a flip, and then we added about 400 square feet.
What were the things that you guys thought were going to be the case going into the deal that ended up being different, that ended up in you guys losing $50,000 on that real estate deal?
Well, we bought it during a time where the market was completely different. That was one thing. I researched the market to a T, and every single home in that neighborhood would sell for over asking, was under contract within 4 or 5 days. This is in the city of Smyrna. This was before new construction was in that area. So these little very small antique homes were being redeveloped, and people loved them. And then the market shift. By the time we were finished, we were completely over leveraged in that, like, we had no idea we had to replace all this plumbing, all this electric, our holding costs. Like, we went way over the time we thought we were going to. We were on market way longer than we thought. So all of that, and we had to pay staging, we had to pay all, like, it just all added and added and added and added until we were like in this fucking hole of just like literally just leaking money out every single month until we sold it.
You're learning so much, and you're willing to take on big risks, which can have high upside and obviously really difficult downside too. I feel like if you're able to stay in the game and keep going and keep doing deals, you will learn more and more and more. You learn something from every deal. And after you've done 10 or 20, you probably just won't lose money very often because you'll have learned most of the mistakes that there are to make.
Yeah.
But it's a question of, can you get that far?
Well, I think it was, so remember, all of my life I have built on proving. So the moment that loss was like manifested into my life, my self-worth and self-esteem just completely dropped on the floor. For some reason or another, I just completely took that on of how I let myself down, how I let my family down, how I wasn't as good as I thought I was, because every single thing was built on proving versus a deep belief that I am worthy of it and that I can do things. So I think it was on purpose. I could not build a life out of the energy that I was building it from, especially as a woman and as a mother. And it broke me because I had to let my investors know what was happening and to come to them and tell them, hey, this is what's happening. You know what? Everything I promised is not going as it is. Like, that was huge for me, like letting people down and letting myself down. So, again, we're on the other side now, but it was, I don't know if it was just for me that way, because all my people and my friends in business, they'd be like, well, Jackie, that's just part of life. Like, that's just part of business. Just get up and keep going. But it devastated me to have lost so much of my money and to be perceived in a way that I was not what I told them that I was.
That's almost the most painful part, where, you know, I'm Jackie, I'm smart, I'm successful, I'm a real estate investor, I've made money on big deals. I know what I'm doing. I figured it out. And then when you have something go wrong that's really big, so it's a big wrong, it changes your sense of self and the way that you think about yourself. And you go, maybe I'm not what I thought I was. Maybe I'm not who I thought I was. How do you emotionally recover from losing a lot of money on a real estate
deal? I think what is what's kind of prompted my healing journey. I never knew how much like I lived like this all the time, proving and pushing, and it's almost like I've always felt like I've been on my own my whole life. And to heal those parts of me and to heal the little girl that never got the support and the love and the, hey, I've got you, has been like huge for me. It almost makes me want to cry now. But anyways, just healing those parts of me of like, those were things that happened to you. It's okay now. You don't have to prove anything that you create will be because you're worthy of it, because you always were, right? So it is what prompted my healing journey, which I'm still on now. And like, again, forgiving my mother, forgiving my dad for not being there, and understanding that I can now move on to create things, but not from that space anymore, from ease, from a sense of like I'm supported, and that no matter what happens to me or in this business or whatever business I go to create, because I'm still do amazing shit, it's all going to be okay. We were always okay. So just enjoy the ride a little bit more.
We're going to do something interesting. We're going to redo that project or something similar to it in real time and just go through it with the new version of Jackie, every major stage of it. If you came across that deal again through the same way, through a wholesaler, how would the numbers need to look on the front end? How would you think about anticipating what days on market could be like and underwriting that into the transaction? How would you think about the extent of how much renovation you're going to do to the property, adding square footage, the confidence you'd have in hitting the ARVs that you see in the comps, knowing that markets are dynamic and that they can change, the things that you chose to renovate, how you chose to find contractors, and what you chose to put money into or not, the capital you decided to use, how you decided to find capital partners. Let's redo it in real time. What would those have to look like in those major categories to go right if you're able to turn back time and force it to go the way that it was supposed to go?
Well, I don't know if I would be able to force it, because I think that was part of the journey, is understanding that nothing is in your control. So you better let that story go right now. Like, you're in this business, you need to learn to pivot. And then second of all, I think I would have been super, super conservative and not been with like the best case scenario, not done my numbers with the best case scenario. Like I would have, like, because we're actually in the process of, we're going to build $1 million home right now. And so
one that you guys would own or occupy, it would just be a place
this would be for selling. We have a lot that, So Again, huge pivots, right? We're doing the numbers where it's like, we have to hit this number, and if we get it greater than that, then that's just extra. That's just like, oh, okay, good for us. But we are being extremely conservative in doing these numbers, and also overpricing a lot of our trades, because that also happened on that project, overpricing a lot of our trades. And instead of kind of going with what the market says the days on markets are, I'm actually adding about 3 or 4 more months to just, because the PTSD is real. We're not doing that anymore. And we told my husband, these numbers have to work or we're not doing it. I'd rather just sell it.
And $1 million homes sit on the market longer. Those are harder to sell, because if you've got a 6% interest rate instead of a 3%, it matters a lot on a bigger loan amount. Having a 6% interest rate on, let's just pretend here that maybe you owned a townhome for a while and it appreciated $200K. You're selling it, you're buying a single family home for $600K, you're putting the $200 onto it, so your mortgage is for $400. That's more reasonable. It's not huge, but if someone's getting a mortgage amount for, maybe they're putting down 10%, they have a mortgage amount for $900K, the payment just balloons and it gets so big. And doing a spec build where, you don't know who's going to buy it, you're going to list it on the market. Spec builds in this market where things have just been a lot slower. I hope it's a good area, and I hope that you guys have been really conservative.
Well, it's a lot in a golf neighborhood, so all there is $1 million homes. So it's kind of like we kind of have to, and we weren't going to do that. We have the option of building something smaller, but even the HOA leaders were like, we definitely do not want spec homes here. We want something more custom. We're trying to attract a specific type of people to our neighborhood. I was like, understood. So we've been doing our research. We've actually even knocked on some doors like, hey, I saw you just bought this home for 1.3. Do you mind if I walk your home and you let me know what are the things that were like a plus for you? And something I'm starting to understand is that people that buy those type of homes, they're on a different scale. Like, they don't think about money the way that maybe I do, or maybe like middle class earners do. They're just on a whole different spectrum. And so I'm like, oh wow, this is nice. Like, when I talk to these people that bought these homes, I don't think they're as affected by certain things like middle class people are, honestly, because they're just unfazed.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and I'm sure it varies person to person, but certainly they probably have pretty high incomes. But a lot of people raise their spending up to the level of their income. A lot of them have their kids in private schools. They might have luxury cars. There's a lot of financial pressure around the expectations of what it means to live in luxury houses, and your whole friend group, your coworkers, are probably in a similar category. It raises the bar for every category of your life.
That's true. Yeah, I agree.
If you spend enough time in real estate, you start realizing that some of the most useful lessons don't come from books or podcasts. They come from conversations with other investors, talking through deals, mistakes, and decisions that you only face once you're on the journey. The Launch REI Newsletter is where we share those insights, the takeaways from our podcast guests, lessons from inside our mastermind community, deal breakdowns, and the patterns that we're seeing as investors grow. It's free, quick to read, and built to help you make better decisions as you scale. You can subscribe at the link in the show notes. What are the top 3 things that you've learned about raising capital that you think that new investors should know?
Raising capital. It has to be from the right people. And when I say right people, you decide what that looks like, right? So I have investors that they fall in love with a 10% annualized interest. Different kind of people, from you know what, I have $1 million I'm willing to give you, but I want 20% equity on the sale. So it's just depending on your position. It has to just be the right person for the right deal. And then another thing would be, I learned I don't like to fight with people. I don't like to woo people into what I do. It has to be a win-win for both. We're going to be in this marriage for a year and a half. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to feel like, I'm very transparent with my numbers. So I'm like, this is how much I'm going to make, to show you the spread of the mistakes that I have. And then this is how much are you going to make? Are you cool with that? Or do you feel like, taken advantage? Like, people can feel taken advantage of. And then other people are like, I don't care what you make. As long as my money's working, that's cool with me. So right people, right structure, and then make sure you, I think one of the biggest things I underestimated was communication with my investors. I think the reason they were so supportive even during a loss and everything was because I always kept them in the loop, and I was just 100% honest with what was happening. They are people. They do understand most of the time, and they just want to know that you also care for their money and you care about them. So just having a human side of yourself and understanding that this is money. One of my investors, she's a nurse. This is all the money she's she's saved from her job. This is very important to her. And so treating that investment and that person as important as if it were your money. So I think that's huge too. They're people. This isn't just business.
You said that real estate is personal development on overdrive, which is so true. What do you mean by that?
It will reveal all of your shit. Like all of your insecurities, all of the masks that we put on for the world, it will reveal it 100%. And every time something comes up, what are you going to do with it? It's what you do with it. I think now that I'm on the other side, not in my little depressive circle, it's like, what are you going to do? And where does that come from? Where does that belief come from? Where does the way that you talk to people come from? Where does the way that you hide from opportunities come from? Because I've felt myself do that too. I've had big endeavors come to me and I'll just, no, I don't want to do that. And so I think it just reveals so much of who you think you are on this planet and what you're going to do with that.
Do you think you found any things or habits or secrets that help you get through really dark moments as an entrepreneur and as a real estate investor?
I don't think they're secrets. We just don't know them. Was that the same as a secret? No. I think if we can just zoom out a little bit and understand that real estate is just an avenue of business, right? It's a way to make money, but it is people. And it is like, I'll say, for example, sometimes the things that are the scariest are what you're going to be amazing at. The thing that was scariest to me was learning how to raise money. I am a beast. I can go anywhere and I promise you, I will raise that money. Not from look at me and like, look what I can position you with. It's like, because I'm so good now at connecting with people, because I've connected with myself and I can raise any amount of money anywhere I go. And that was the most terrifying for me.
That is gold. That is so fantastic. And you're starting to see that there are these different parts of the deal, and it's usually not going to be one person that does all of it. One person could be really good at raising capital. One person has capital and maybe is a high earner, but they don't have time or the knowledge and skills to do the real estate deals. And then there's some people that are great operators, and there are some quite dangerous situations where you have some people that are really good at raising capital and they're trying to do big commercial deals and syndications, but they're not a good operator. They don't deliver the numbers that are on the pro forma. And then all of a sudden, an investor wired over $100,000, $200,000. They're not getting returns. And people could have avoided six-figure mistakes by, being in the right rooms and learning how to vet operators and find people that they can trust who have a track record of delivering.
That's true too. I mean, I think everything is a learning opportunity. So maybe you didn't know until that happened to you. And absolutely, like, you have a skill set, but I would say even in development, it's about a team. I don't know how to build a single thing. I don't know where any wood goes. I don't know where anything goes. Like, I have to have my framing people. I have to have my painting people, like my plumbing team. That took a while to develop, but yeah, you have to have the team. That's just, and sometimes that takes trial and error. We've paid with money and mistakes too, hiring the wrong team, and sometimes that's just what it takes.
What advice would you share in particular with any women that are listening that want to start in real estate investing, or maybe they're already doing it and they're scaling, but they're hitting roadblocks, they're hitting some rough patches that they have to try and solve or sort through?
I would say for women in particular, I don't know, because I don't know if there's anything we can't do, honestly, just because something I've learned. I think the story that we're women and that we don't belong here is bullshit. I don't know who taught us that, because no man has ever told me you don't belong here. That's just something I believe. That's one. And then real estate is a people business, right? You can be amazing, I can be amazing, but there's something that's going to attract me to you, or vice versa. Women, for biological reasons or whatever, we have this thing that we are more of a connector than the male is, right? So, and I think that is what makes us a little bit more powerful in a way, because even to you as a man, if you are like this big mighty investor and I come to you as a man, you might like, is he trying to take my shit? Like, my alpha kind of comes out. And then versus a woman, the moment I approach them, they're just, Like, she's not coming to hurt me. She's not coming to take anything. She wants to collaborate. She wants to work with me. I see her softness. I see the way that she wants to position this. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. I'm going to give her my money. So I think that's a superpower. And then everything else it's just a story that we've learned through society, through whatever. So whatever someone told you that men do this and we don't, it's a story. Let it go. We're awesome. We can do things.
Are there any misconceptions that people have about real estate investing?
Yeah, because I work in a hospital with very rich surgeons, and they hate it. Like, they own property, I guess, because their tax person told them that they needed to for their whatever. They absolutely hate it.
They hate being a surgeon, or they hate real estate?
They hate being a landlord. They hate being... They're not really educated on things. Honestly, I'm like, aren't you like a millionaire? Don't you know about this strategy? Don't you know about investing in they don't know anything. So I really think it's just who you talk to, because I have a whole circle, like, so broad, of people that I know, and their perception of real estate is just very different depending on where you are, what you do, and what you believe about money and investing. Some people don't like the risk. They'd rather just pay their taxes than buy it.
That's so interesting. And it goes to show that, just because you're really good at one thing and have a lot of knowledge in a particular field, it doesn't just automatically translate to another. You still have to be a beginner once again and start from scratch and learn all of the fundamentals. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Maybe they can be overconfident in their intelligence and just think that it's going to be easy because, real estate, that's got to be easy because it's not med school. And you can end up making some really big mistakes that cost you 5 figures or even 6 figures if you underestimate real estate.
I agree 100%.
What would you tell yourself going back to the beginning of your real estate journey?
Going back to the beginning, I would just say, hang on, because it's going to be a ride. And I really think that's it. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think that's probably for the benefit of the whole journey, because that's kind of what I think this life is about. You're not supposed to know all the things. You're supposed to just run with it and trust that whatever happens for you is happening for you. It's here to teach or to grow you. So I just didn't know what it would turn into, but I think that's it. Just hold on, because it's going to be a ride, and just remember who you really are and just keep going.
I think that you're going to have a really successful future in development and flipping. You're learning a lot of lessons the hard way, but also you have the right attitude and the right mindset around it. And it sounds like you're going to be able to attract really great mentors and partners. And all of that will come together, and it will work out. So I think that your best days and big success is still ahead of you. I think that 10 years from now, it won't even be recognizable. I just think that there's a lot of potential ahead. So I'm really excited to see how your journey unfolds, and really appreciate you sharing all this with us today.
Thank you. I receive all of your words of encouragement. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Jackie, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
I would say Instagram is the most. So it's Jacqueline Torres _builds, BUILDS.
And I've seen some of your projects, so it's been cool to watch your journey and to be part of it today. So thank you, and we definitely look forward to seeing how your future unfolds. So we really appreciate you sharing everything today. Thank you. If today's episode was useful, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. We drop 2 episodes every week. And if you want to go deeper, join thousands of investors getting our free weekly newsletter at newsletter.launchrei.co, or check the link in the show notes. See you next time.